What if there was one thing you could do, one habit you could embrace that would change everything, that would help you attract more clients, that would help you create better content, develop better services, improve your positioning, in fact, improve every single thing that you do? Well, there is. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why it's so powerful and the impact it's had for me. And at the end of this video, you're still not going to do it. But that won't stop me. I'm going to explain it regardless, because even if just 1 out of 100 of you watching this actually follows through on this, your consulting practice will be so much more successful. I coach a lot of consultants, and over time, I've noticed a pattern that's really hard to ignore. When someone's practice is stuck, when work has dried up, the marketing won't land, or they just can't get their positioning to click, it almost always traces back to the very same root cause. They are not talking to the people they want to serve, not properly, not regularly. And when someone's practice is flying, you find the exact reverse. So I've stopped thinking about this as one tactic amongst many. It's closer to the foundation, the thing everything else stands on. It feeds your positioning, your content, your services, what you charge, and everything else. If you get this one habit right, everything else gets easier. Get it wrong, and nothing else quite works. So here it is. Every week, you get on 2 to 5 calls with the exact people you want to work with. And you use that time to learn what's going on for them, and to share what you're learning as well. You're not there to sell. That's the whole thing. And I guess fewer than 1 in 50 consultants do it consistently. 2 of the biggest pieces of work my consultancy ever signed started exactly as this kind of call. No pitch, no funnel, just a conversation. And I'll come back to those. But first, a question that actually matters, which is why you're not already doing this. Most people, probably you as well, sit at a desk and guess. They guess at the problem they should solve. They write website copy they hope will land. They invent a service menu. They agonize over a fee structure. They rewrite their LinkedIn headline for the 10th time. All of it built on a story they've told themselves about what their market wants, without ever really asking the market. And then they wonder why none of it converts. You can't think your way to this from a desk. The answers don't live in your head. They don't live in Google. They don't live in ChatGPT or Claude. They're inside the heads of the people you want to serve. And so you absolutely 100%, truly, madly, deeply have to go and talk to them. And let me be really clear about what these calls are. Because the moment I say, get on calls with prospects, people assume I mean sales calls. I don't. You should not be trying to sell on these calls. A research call has one job, and that's to learn genuinely what's going on for these people right now. That includes, what are they working on? What's frustrating them? What have they tried? What worked? What didn't work? And what would they never do again? And in return, you share what you're seeing across everyone else you've spoken to. You are not pitching here. I cannot stress that enough. You are not pitching work in these calls. You're not trying to close. If a sales opportunity happens to fall out of one of these, that's great. That's a bonus. That's not the goal. The second you make it about selling, people feel it, and the whole thing falls apart. So if this is so powerful, why does almost nobody do it? It's not that this idea is a secret. It's that the whole thing feels very uncomfortable. And we dress that discomfort up as practical problems. A friend once asked me for help with this once, and the conversation went almost exactly as you would expect. How do I even find these people? What do I say to them? What if they just ignore me? What if they say no? Every question sounded logical, but none of them was the real issue. The real issue was nerve. So let me take the fear off the table for you. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. I've reached out to people hundreds of times. I can count the genuinely rude negative responses on one hand. It's 2, maybe 3. The normal no is, thank you, I haven't got the time. And that costs you absolutely nothing. Nearly always, even total strangers are happy to give you half an hour to talk about their own work. People like being asked what they know. You're not imposing on them. You're handing them a reason to feel useful and quietly flattered for 30 minutes. And when you've had those 30, 50, 100 of these conversations, you know things that no one in your space knows. You will automatically be one of the top experts in the space. You know the real problems, including the ones people haven't even put a name to yet. You know which solutions actually work in practice rather than in theory. You know who's doing interesting work and who's struggling. That's knowledge you can't search for. You can't chat GPT your way to it, and it changes everything you do downstream. A lot of consultants spend their whole careers just trying to satisfy demand. They sit and wait for someone to Google a problem, find them, and get in touch. And that's a crowded, low-margin place to live. You are interchangeable there. Research calls move you to the other side of it. They're how you start generating demand instead. You spot a frustration before anyone's named it. You come to understand it better than almost anyone, and you become the person people think of the moment that problem turns urgent. So let's talk about how you actually run these. Let's begin with the who. The easiest people to get a yes from are those who already have a sense of who you are. Go through your mailing list and find anyone who keeps opening your messages. Look at who engages with you on LinkedIn. And if you don't have a list yet, look at who's following you. Or at the people one rung below the decision maker at the organizations you'd love to work with. The junior folks, the ones who are closest to the work, they're easier to reach. And they know far more than you'd expect, and a good number of them will be seeing it in a few years anyway. And if you're sitting there thinking you've got no one, no list, no following, not a single person who'd recognize your name, well then that's your first step before any of this. Go and become a proper member of the places your future clients already gather. There might be industry Slack groups, the forums, the LinkedIn conversations, the events. Simply show up, ask good questions, answer the ones you can, and be useful in public for a while. You are not pitching anyone. You're just becoming a familiar, helpful, that's important, helpful face. Do that for a few weeks and you'll have a list of people you can comfortably reach out to for a proper conversation. And then the outreach. The message that works is warm, specific, and offers something of valuable. What you want to be saying instead is something more like this. Hey, I'm seeing some interesting trends across your industry. I'd love to compare notes and hear what you're running into or hear your thoughts. You give them a reason why it's worth 30 minutes of your time. And you make it obvious it's a two-way thing, not an interrogation. Whatever you do, don't be creepy about it. Nobody wants an email that says, I noticed you opened my last 4 newsletters. That isn't a warm message, that's just surveillance, and no one likes that. Now this next part is the one most people get wrong, so I want to slow right down on it. The single thing that makes these calls work is that the person on the other end has to get more out of it than you do. That's the deal. You absolutely have to remember that. You're asking for 30 minutes from someone busy, so you'd better make it the most useful 30 minutes they've had in ages. So what do you actually bring? You bring everything you've picked up on every other call. You tell them what you're seeing across other organizations in the space and how they stack up against it. When they describe a problem, you tell them how 3 other people you spoke to last month handled the same thing. What worked, what blew up in their faces. You point them at a piece of research that they should read, or a book that's worth their time, or a tool a person really ought to know about. But here's the bit people resist. You have to share. You have to share your own practices. You show them how you're putting these things together, the frameworks you're using, the way you would approach their exact situation if it were yours. Don't hoard that for paying clients. Give it away on the call. The generosity is the entire point. And oddly enough, it's also the thing that makes them want to hire you, because they get a small free taste of what it's like to work with you. You want them hanging up thinking they just got away with something. Now you might be thinking, hey Rich, that's fine for you, you've done this hundreds of times, but I'm on call number 1, I have nothing to share. What should I do? So here's how you get around that. Before the first call, do the homework. Read everything they put out. Put together 3 or 4 trends you're seeing across their corners of the industry. Even if you're seeing them from the outside for now. Find a piece of research, yours or someone else's, that touches their world and form a real opinion about where things are heading. You don't need 100 calls behind you to be useful in your first one. You need to have done your reading and thought harder about their problem than the average person who lands in their inbox. And then your second call has the insights from your first call to draw upon, and it builds from there. So you give generously. Then, and only then, you ask your own questions. What are you working on? What's hard right now? What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? And my favorite one to end these calls on, who else is doing interesting work that I should talk to? Sometimes they introduce me to other people in their organization. Sometimes they introduce me to other peers in the industry. And so my connections and my reputation grows and grows. That single question is how 5 calls can turn into 50 calls if you do it well. So here's an important thing. When you're doing these calls and collecting data, don't just let them sit isolated. Take good notes, but then drop them into a spreadsheet or CRM, because the patterns across all those calls is where the real value sits. Once you have value sitting in a spreadsheet, it's easy to use AI tools to extract that value, to interrogate it, and really get insights that you can't get from anywhere else. Often at this stage, people ask me about the mechanics of how to do the calls. So I say a couple of things. 1, keep it to 30 minutes and keep the technology boring. Zoom is just fine. Autonotes is just fine. If you want to record it, then obviously ask first, because if people tell you things will be off the record, you probably don't want to record it. And if you don't record it, people will tell you things they won't say on tape. So you might strongly want to consider not recording these. And tell them upfront they're welcome to bring a colleague, and they often will. Sometimes the exact senior person you're hoping to reach anyway is the person that gets invited to these calls. And do the math on the volume. If you send 1 outreach message a day, that's around 250 per working day a year. And that tends to land you north of 100 real conversations. And if you have 100 real conversations, you'll understand your corner of the industry better than anybody else. And that's the practice, sending out that 1 outreach message a day. And when you've done these calls, please, please, please don't vanish. This is a trust and relationship business. If you said you'd send something, send it. If something you pick up on a later call would help someone from an earlier one, pass that advice and expertise along. Be a steady, useful source of things people can't get anywhere else. That's what turns a one-off chat into the kind of person who 2 or 3 years later emails you with the product already scoped and the budget already attached. And this isn't just a pleasant conversation. It's the raw material, as I said before, for everything else you go on to sell. This played out in my own practice. Back in 2016, 2017, my consultancy had a problem. The space had gotten really crowded, and the positioning we had built, which was rooted in psychology, was being copied by everyone. I needed a way to stand out again. It was the calls. Across conversation after conversation, I kept hearing the same thing. People were sitting on piles of community data and doing almost nothing useful with it. Nobody had really named it as a problem yet. So we named it. My whole consultancy around data. I spent the best part of 6 months working through real statistics and data courses so I could properly back it up. Because genuine expertise, those certificates, the courses I've completed, is a part competitors can't copy in a hurry. And then we built services on top of it. A few years later, that same habit of listening surfaced another version of the same problem. It was vague grumbling organizations were struggling with their data. We zeroed in on the specific causes and turned it into a community intelligence service and signed over $100,000 of work within 2 months of launching that campaign. A more recent example is AI. On calls, people kept telling me they were being pressured to do more with AI without anyone really explaining what that actually meant. We turned that frustration into the AI Ready Communities program, which did around $30,000 in its first month. None of these started with me being clever in a Google Doc. They started on calls. They started by hearing about a frustration out loud before it had a name, and then doing the work to name it and to solve it. But I want to tell you something before you do this. This compounds over time. This is slow. It's going to take months to feel the impact of this. Your first handful of calls might feel like they went nowhere, and some of them genuinely will go nowhere. You're not going to hang up from call number 3 holding a signed contract. That's not the way it works. And if that's what you're after, this isn't the approach for you. The consultants it works for are those that are playing the long game, are those who treat it as a habit, and keep going through it even in the quiet stretches. Give it a few months of those 2 to 5 calls a week and the whole picture changes. Do this every week, 2 to 5 calls for months on end, and things start to stack up. You quietly build up a few dozen people who know you, trust you, and want to help you. That's the asset. Everything else hangs off. And you're never going to be short of something to write about, because every call hands you with something real. A benchmark, a comparison, a piece of research, an anecdotal example. You can run a webinar and know who you're going to invite because you've been speaking with them the entire year. You could host an event and the room is more likely to fill itself. And the work begins to arrive on its own. When a problem gets urgent, you're the first name they reach for because you're the one who understood it before it was urgent. You stop chasing clients and they come to you. So here's the thing I want you to do now as we end this video. And I want you to do it now, not next quarter, not when your website's finished. Simply open your email. Pick 2 people who already half know you, and send them a warm, generous note asking to compare notes on what's happening in their world. That's it, just 2 emails. Make them research calls, not sales calls. And walk in ready, truly ready to give more than you take. And to make it even easier, I put the exact outreach scripts I use and the full list of questions into a free toolkit. You can find it in our vault. If you're watching on YouTube, it's the first link in the description. If you're reading this in the newsletter, it's right here in the email. Take it, change the name to suit you, and send the first one out before you close this. And then do the same thing next week, and then the week after, and make it a habit. Put it in your calendar, something that you always do at that time of day. Keep it up, and within a year, I promise you, you will understand your niche better than anyone else in it, and you'll never have to chase a client again. And if you want the full system that sits inside this, which includes choosing your niche, finding the right problem, and building your positioning around what these calls teach you, that's what my Consulting Foundations program is all about. And it'll walk you through step by step how to do it. The link for that is below. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.